So my story is going to begin in October of 2016. I thought I was going to be a generous son, a generous brother, and I got my family a gift for Christmas. And this is their gift until like the year 2023. It was a pretty big gift. I decided to get them a trip to Africa and to go on an African safari, which we went on this past July. So there's a lot of ways in which panic could come into play on an African safari. There's big animals, there's long flights, there's a lot of things that you might worry about. My family, I thought, was going to be ecstatic. I mean, they're going on a safari. They've never been abroad before. This is like the trip of a lifetime. So I set up my camera on Christmas Day. I put this whole scavenger hunt together. They went around, and after stopping at a different stops underneath the Christmas tree in the back tool shed, the last clue was in the ceiling tile, and it was these boarding passes that I made up, and it said JFK to CPT. And does anyone here know what CPT stands for? Cape Town, right. So my family did not know what that was. So they had to Google it, and my mom said, okay, we're going to Cape Town. And my dad said, we're going to South America. No, you're not. So that should have been the warning as to how this trip was going to be. Fast forward then to this past June and July. We go on safari. It was this incredible trip. We were in Namibia, we were in South Africa, we were all over the place. And while on safari, the first thing that they do when you get there, I don't know if any of you have been before, but when you go on a safari, they give you two pieces of paper. The first one is going to be the waiver that says if you're eaten or mauled by a lion, you can't sue. The second is the Wi-Fi password, because believe it or not, there's Wi-Fi in Namibia, in the middle of this safari. So we go and we're in these tents, and these tents are made of this piece of canvas. It's really nice. There's plumbing, there's Wi-Fi. I mean, it's this beautiful, beautiful tent that we stay in for this safari. And we go out one day, and we are on this long trip in Etosha National Park, and we come back. And when we come back, we have this really nice dinner. And there's only 18 people that are on this site where all these tents are. So we go and we have our dinner, and we sit down. And my brother, he notices that out in the distance, there's something that's coming closer to the watering hole. And we're only 60 feet from the watering hole. It's pretty close. And we see this elephant. And it's this beautiful, amazing moment where this elephant comes up and it gets its water and it walks away. And everybody goes back to their table and they sit down and they continue on with dinner. And then all of a sudden, there's these 3 elephants that come in. And we're all up there and everybody's up close to the fence and we're just all, it's this amazing moment where this is why we all came to Africa to see this. And then all of a sudden, all these lions start walking by in the back. And you know it's a problem when the person that works at the safari is like, oh shit, this isn't good. That's when your heart is like, okay, because you have to go back to the tent. So at that moment, what happens is everyone's like, all right, let's go get the guns. So they go out and they get the shotguns because they have to escort us back to the tent at this night. So that's when the moment hits in that like, oh, you're on safari. There's these lions that'll kill you because you're getting escorted back to your tent that's made of canvas, yet again, let's stress that point, with a shotgun. And that's the moment where you're like, oh yeah, that's a safari. So we go and we get escorted and we get to the tent and the guy stops because there's, these lion roars in the distance and he says, it's about like 100 feet away, so I suggest you go in the tent, just close the door, put the lock down, which, let's be realistic, that's gonna do nothing. Put the lock down, and then just don't come out until the morning. I'm like, okay, that's great. So they tell you beforehand about how the lions, if they're hungry, you're gonna see their beautiful white face because they haven't eaten and it's not filled with blood. So we have these amazing pictures of these beautiful lions with their white face, and then it's like, oh yeah, they're starving tonight. So you go into your canvas tent, and we sit there, and it's me and my brother, and 2 tents over are my mom and my dad. Now, my mom's not thrilled to be on safari to begin with. I mean, she thought she was going to South Africa with my dad. South America, not South Africa. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into. So we go into the tent, and we're sitting there, and there's electricity in the tent as well, so I'm like charging my phone, I'm charging my camera. My brother's freaking out. And he's 21 years old, he's a student at Westchester University, and he's like, okay, get in bed. We're going to bed now. This is it. Like, there's lions out there. Can't you hear them? And you can. I mean, you can hear them very clearly. They're right out there. And I thought, well, they're fine. Like, they're going after zebra or antelope or whatever. They're not going after me. So I'm moving around, and then all of a sudden we get a FaceTime call. Because, again, there's Wi-Fi in the tent, and it's my mom. And my brother looks at his phone, and he's like, what the hell is she doing? Why is she FaceTiming us? Does she not realize that there's lions out there? There's lions feet away from us. They're outside of this tent. And so he's freaking out. I've never seen him freak out like this before. Well, inside of the tent, there's also a phone, when you panic and when there's an emergency. And apparently, the volume of this phone is really, really loud to wake you up in case there's lions hunting outside of your tent. So my mom decides to pick up the phone and to call us at this moment when the lions are roaring and when they're hunting, and we can literally hear them walking by the tent. And all of a sudden you hear this loud ring, 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 ring. Because this is being taped for YouTube, I probably can't say what my brother said in that exact moment, but there was a lot of cursing at my mom going on. And I go over and I pick up the phone and I say hello, and she's like, do you hear the lions outside? Of course I hear the lions outside. Like, they're right outside my tent. Of course I hear them. We end up getting disconnected. That's it. So she's in a panic. My brother's in a panic. And when you go onto a safari, everybody's going to tell you there's all these memories that you're going to have. And there's no doubt. There's a million memories that I have from this trip. It was a trip of a lifetime. I remember the elephants. We saw 9 of them. It was this matriarchal pack that was coming through, 4 mothers and all of their babies that were walking by. I remember seeing a zebra for the very first time and how amazing that was. Seeing a 3-week-old baby rhino. But the memory, when anyone ever says to me, do you remember your African safari? The one that I'm going to have is going to be of my 21-year-old brother who was in his Westchester University sweatshirt in 40-degree weather, because it was cold at night, in this canvas tent with lions roaring around, and snuggled up like a tiny little bear was that big red bullhorn in his arms, just in case the lions came over close.